This is Scott Speck, Artistic Director of the Chicago Philharmonic, with another Pitching In video. Last week, we heard the first part of my interview with Bobby Everson. Bobby is in his home in Oak Park, and he has quite the timpani set up there. He had a lot more interesting things to say and to demonstrate, so let's get right to it. Here's the second half of my interview with Bobby Everson.
I view the timpani sound as being the consonant at the beginning of a word. We're the plosive at the beginning of a word. So if we're using a letter B versus a letter T, that's what this does. It changes that color so that I am now changing the word that the orchestra is speaking.
Oh, that's beautiful. And sometimes we want an M, right? Sometimes we want something that
And
does
when we
not
want an
start
M,
plosively.
that's when the very soft mallets come out, because now I've taken away the edge at the beginning of the note. I'm now playing a much more, a much broader, much more, I haven't had to use big words in a long time. This is more legato sound.
Yeah, legato sound, but also it seems to me that you could have a roll that starts from nothing, right? And that would also
Right.
give us that.
There's something I often say to describe what I'm doing. There are times in the repertoire when I have a very soft roll that I feel shouldn't be heard, but should be felt. And what I like to say I'm doing is that I'm disturbing the air.
Ooh.
That,
I like that.
the sound should not be heard. No one should perceive that I'm playing, but they should feel something is going on. I don't know what. And that's, I like to call it disturbing the air.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of, in some ways, that reminds me of like a 32-foot stop on an organ. That people may not hear it, but they can feel it in their bones.
Right. That moment in, say, Pines of Rome, when the organ comes in.
Ooh, yes. Amazing.
That moment, yes. That you feel it. You don't necessarily hear it, but all of a sudden the room just feels more excited.
The whole room is vibrating in ways that it hadn't before. Talking about consonants, and I think that's a really brilliant analogy, you can also provide an extremely exciting consonant at the end of a piece, of a cutoff. You know, either you're doing a roll and maybe it has a staccato note at the end that would be like a T at the end of a sentence.
Exactly, exactly.
And I always think, not just of timpani actually, but of percussion in general, at being able to provide that amazing color and that amazing service in creating a sentence, a musical sentence that we're doing together.
Yes.
So let me ask then, what does a timpanist practice in quarantine? Are you practicing technique? Are you practicing individual pieces, pieces of music? What are you practicing?
I'm not practicing pieces because, again, there's nothing that I'm focused on working on right now.
Right.
But mostly muscle maintenance, just keeping the muscles working, and also keeping my ear to things. Most of the time, I don't practice on these drums, even though I have a bunch of drums here. There's a timpani pad I have over there. He says gesturing over there, because it's just quieter. But again, I'm trying to make, I'm not trying to make, like, just, work the muscles going. So I'll practice on a practice pad.
I see.
Just for muscle maintenance.
Right. For me, as a conductor, it wouldn't be so much muscle maintenance, although I suppose now that you mention it, it's not a bad idea. But sometimes, maintenance of musical phrases or of rhythmic ability, things like that are definitely worth practicing. I guess it depends on how long the quarantine lasts, right? Because if it's just a couple of weeks more, then we still have maintained everything pretty much. We're in very good shape. But just a couple of days, we could get back to where we need to be. But if it's,
I have done a lot of listening to concerts and recordings. A lot of listening just for ideas and just listening to the pieces I enjoy. Yeah. And I've found that very beneficial.
Well, me too. And I mean, not just in order to keep our abilities up and to exercise those parts of the brain, actually parts of the left brain that most audience members don't have to worry about, but we musicians need in order to create the music that people hear. Not just for that, I need to exercise the part of the right brain, which is the inspiration and the joy and all of the
Absolutely.
life-changing, soul-affirming qualities that classical music has, and that helps us understand why in all times we need the music that we make, but especially in times like these.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Bobby, thank you so much. It's really great to have this conversation with you. And I've learned a lot, and I'm sure people watching at home have learned a lot too.
Well, thank you very much, Scott. Thanks for thinking of me in these talks, and it was really nice seeing you.
You too.
And I hope that we're together again real soon.
I hope so too. All right, take care, Bobby.
Thanks.
See you
Take
later.
care. Bye-bye.